What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We are here to talk about the 11th Gen Civic Si. What you see in front of me is our full suite of bolt-on parts that we make for this thing that we've been developing over the past year and a half or so. You got your front pipe, down pipe, intercooler, charge piping, and intake. And what we're going to do now is walk you through the installation of all these parts. So let's get started. I think one thing you guys are all going to see is just everything's just very easy on this car. Like I mentioned, like just objectively easy. It's a really, really nice kind of first car to start with. But even if you, I don't know, you quote unquote know what you're doing, or you've had multiple other cars, like it'll kind of be a little breath of fresh air for you, I think.
Yeah, these things are, there's a lot of room. It's a small engine, but it's definitely a cool like entry like turbocharged car and everything too. It's very reliable. Like I remember learning to work on DSMs and stuff like that in high school. That's kind of throwing you into it, where this is like very simple. Everything's easy to get at. Like there's nothing really weird about them at all.
It's a much different animal than the Evo. I mean, and that's pretty much where I started, you know, talking about throwing yourself into stuff.
Right.
Like it's definitely doable. Just, you know, it's not that it's crazy complicated, but it is, when compared to this, it kind of is, I guess is the point. So everything's just really accessible, easy.
And Honda makes nice cars too. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Kind of shows sometimes when you're working on certain cars, like the quality of the hardware, everything, and it also helps that it's almost brand new. But
that doesn't hurt. Especially if you're comparing to, like you said, a DSM.
I mean, whole intake comes out in literally 3 minutes on this car. Extremely simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Next we're pretty much going to have to do is
just put the filter on here.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty simple.
You don't need the MAF or anything like that.
No,
no, we're going to pretty much kind of get the intake, all the charge piping, intercooler, everything out of the way, and then get to where we can do the downpipe easily, and then kind of work in reverse of that. So
that sounds good to me. As we get the clips from underneath, it is worthy of mentioning just the current state of our shop car. We do have a simple wheel and tire setup on it. Just a nice set of Koenigs with some Advan tires. And then also, we do have our catback system on this thing. So we offer the full conglomerate of bolt-ons. Kind of hard to see, but here's your V-band. You come back, resonator there, and then just a simple V-band setup for the tips at the rear. One there, one there. So simple and effective is kind of the strategy when we went to develop parts for this thing, to try to keep that, you know, the car is easy to work on, continuity throughout. So with the parts that we've got, they're just as easy to install really as taking the old stuff off. Like, it's not a big headache for any of this stuff. Simple and effective. Last thing to mention, we are running evolved coilovers on this thing. Super, super nice for a street set of coilovers. Again, just kind of a simple bolt-ons build we have planned for this. I think it'll all work together very nicely.
Kind of the only tricky thing about taking the front bumper off is going to be these little lower eyelid things, if you want to call them that. Just grab your plastic tool of choice so you don't gouge up the front bumper at all. And you're just going to need to start getting under them. And all the little tabs are just going to release pretty easily. The whole thing just comes off like that.
There you have it. We are in the middle of testing an oil cooler kit, which you can kind of see behind the crash bar there. And you can see the AN line coming down over the intercooler. As we film this, we're testing that, so keep your eyes peeled. So if you're wondering what that is as we get this intercooler out of here and all that, that's what you're looking at.
They're really nice too. They give you a nice little parts tray right here to stick all your bolts.
Honda thinks of everything.
How nice of them.
including a place to put your hardware.
So then for the rest of the driver's side charge piping, you get this nice fancy air silencer box that they decided to put on there. We're just gonna have to take that off, and then we're gonna be able to remove the whole thing kind of right out here. Just a couple bolts holding that in as well.
This entire car is very modular.
Yes.
Like, you can pull things out kind of in batches.
You need like 3 tools as well.
Yeah. Get yourself a little Stanley toolkit or something like that, and good to go.
So then all it's holding the intercooler in is just this top mounting bracket, just one 10mm bolt on each side. So then from here, factory intercooler slides right out. Now that that's out of the way, we can start snaking out this side of the charge piping.
I just love that you pull everything out in massive chunks.
Yeah, it's kind of a good idea to do all of it at once because you pretty much need to take all of it apart anyways.
Right. So if you're gonna buy the takeaway there is if you're gonna buy one part, you might as well buy all the parts at the same time.
So then the last piece, as far as all the charge piping goes, is just going to be the connection on the outlet of the compressor housing, just that clamp right there. Kind of a pain in the butt to get to, but nothing that you can't handle. So it's literally intake, charge piping, and intercooler out in about 20 to 30 minutes at most.
Yeah, you guys are pretty much seeing this in real time. Like, this isn't really YouTube magic. These things are just that easy.
So now with all that out of the way, tackling like the downpipe and everything is going to be a lot easier with all those parts in the way. So start getting the upper heat shield off so we can start unbolting some of this as well. Once this little heat shield's off, it's going to give us access to the 4 mounting points there. What you see there also might be a bit different than what is on your car from the factory in terms of like having a stud and a nut here and a bolt there. The factory hardware is extremely susceptible to stripping, and you have to kind of extract those and rethread the hot side of the turbocharger. So we've already done that, but that's something that in our downpipe we do send that extra hardware so that you can not have to make a hardware store run in that instance. So, and this car also only has a couple thousand miles on it, so it doesn't really matter how new and rust-free the car is. It's pretty much going to happen.
Yeah, it's kind of just like the nature of the beast.
It's kind of a common theme on a lot of newer turbocharged vehicles for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Exhaust hardware on the turbocharger hot side, not great.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, just be prepared. That's probably the pain point of the whole thing.
Yep.
Is once you get to this point, which is just kind of just comes with the territory sort of thing with most turbocharged cars, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
And the new ones are no
Subarus,
exception.
All sorts of vehicles.
Subarus, Evos, doesn't really matter.
So now go ahead and unplug the primary O2 sensor and get that wire harness snaked out of the little brackets that it's secured to and let that just hang there. And then we'll start loosening all those. And then I'll just end up leaving those 2 kind of loosely threaded so that when we disconnect all the lower stuff, the downpipe doesn't want to fall on our face. Kind of leave those as the last little things holding it up.
So all the shielding is off again. Everything is just very, very accessible.
Yeah. All this hardware.
Super easy.
Goes up over the subframe. Very easy to get.
Your filter housing will look a little different because again, this is part of the oil cooler arrangement that we're testing on this car.
So now that this is not up there, we've got access to the front pipe and then where front pipe over pipe connects to our catback. So go ahead and start disassembling the rest of the exhaust back to the front pretty much and go from there. Now that we've got everything disconnected with the front pipe and over pipe here, get it off.
Give it a jiggle.
Studs and just have to pop it out of the hanger there, which if I remember correctly, it's actually easier to pull that off the car right now.
There you have it.
That all comes out as one unit. And then we'll just get this exhaust hanger off of here because we'll need to reuse it when installing our front pipe and over pipe combo. So get the proper tool for that.
Downpipe to go.
Yep. Just a couple brackets. One attaches to the side of the engine, or the oil pan, another one right here. So just get those undone, and then we'll be able to take those 2 bits of hardware off the top connection and then pull the downpipe off underneath the car. Now we can snake this guy out of the car.
Look at that thing. Jeez.
It's a thick mama.
For real. So now we're gonna get to some of the fun stuff. Some of the installs will probably start pretty much where we left off, removing.
Yeah, pretty much work our way backwards. Down pipe, front pipe, over pipe, and then we'll be able to install the charge piping, intercooler, intake, and put the bumper back on and be done.
Bolt-ons, baby. What do we got going on for tuning with this car once we get all of this installed?
Right now we've just got it on one of the K-tuner maps that's included on there. They work pretty well, actually. Car runs and drives really nicely, but we'll probably end up getting a custom tune written at some point here.
Yeah, I mean, with a kind of an off-the-shelf situation like that, I mean, power gain someone could expect. I mean, you get a little bit out of it.
Yeah, it turns the boost up quite a bit, and it gets rid of the terrible rev hang that these have from the factory, which helps a ton, because this car in stock form, gonna be honest, terrible to drive. It's like you're never even letting off the gas. It hangs up so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, it helps quite a bit. I mean, I think you get a lot more of a noticeable improvement on something like this versus like a WRX with like a Cobb off-the-shelf map, because these are pretty tame in stock form.
Yeah.
So it helps out quite a bit, in my opinion.
So that definitely makes sense. Well, if nothing else, that looks a lot better than what was in there.
Yeah. And this little guy goes on there too, so that you can bolt the upper heat shield to it, which is nice.
After this, you're thinking like front pipe and over pipe?
Yep, get the rest of the exhaust tied up, and then get all the charge piping and everything like that back in place with all the aftermarket stuff.
That's one thing to call out that isn't always the case. Our downpipe has the provisions for that stock heat shield. So you can put that back on after you swap the downpipe out, which a lot of people kind of like to have, retain that sort of deal.
And then you do need to use one of these spacers, comes in the kit, for the connection between the bracket and the actual oil pan and engine.
All right, so front pipe?
Yeah, start with the front pipe, which does use like the factory style graphite gasket, which is nice, and you know, because this is kind of a goofy flange shape. It's not like a regular 2-bolt flange. Like if you needed another replacement, like you can't just buy that anywhere. So having a factory style gasket in there, in my opinion, is very nice, where somebody could just look up the factory part and replace it with something like that if they needed to. So
Definitely.
all those things make life a little easier sometimes.
They all add up. Nice. It's a very satisfying click.
Yeah, 100%.
Love that.
I'm actually not going to tighten these down all the way until we get the rest of everything connected. These are a little bit more forgiving than a V-band in terms of lining things up, so it'll give us a little wiggle room on the back side of things.
One thing to note when you go to kind of connect all of this together, it is very helpful to not have this bolted down yet. You're going to need just a little bit of extra play once you get this connection seated, as well as the one at the cat back. So just a heads up for you folks. Now that we have our combo platter of splash shields back on, I think we're going to move on to intercooler, charge piping, and then pretty much just the intake. Like we're almost home. So with that done, this thing is effectively modified. I mean, as far as the process is concerned, as we were kind of saying the whole time, like it's very straightforward. A lot of our stuff just uses the factory provisions for everything. Like for example, the sensors and whatnot you've got on your charge pipe here, we've got a provision welded on to accept those. I think all of the bracketry down here uses the factory stuff. Like,
you don't have to trim anything with the intercooler or anything like that. You know, you retain the whole lower shield, but makes, you know, best use of all that space down there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's all just very OEM plus, if you want to say, which maybe helps with everything being easy to install and take out. So, again, just to echo it again before we put the bumper on, this is just such an awesome platform if you want to kind of get your hands wet modifying something.
Yeah, and I mean, you could literally do all of this with a $30 set of hand tools in your driveway and, you know, a jack and 2 jack stands. Like, this is a very easy car to work on, and I think like all the sounds and stuff that you end up getting out of it too, like it's a fun, inexpensive car in the grand scheme of things. So
yeah, no, it's a great place to start, or just go to if you've done other stuff. I think it'll be like a breath of fresh air for you modifying this.
This is a perfect daily. If you've got like 30 grand to spend on something, I mean, the car itself is great, and then, you know, you spend a couple $1,000s on, you know, freeing up the exhaust and intake side of things, and it sounds awesome. Like,
yeah,
the car is still a very nice, usable car. It's not, you know, gonna blow your eardrums out or anything like that. Like, it's a great setup for a daily, and it gets good gas mileage too for what it is.
That's very true. Yeah, couldn't agree more. We'll get the bumper on this thing, and then we'll start it up too, so you guys can kind of hear that and maybe take it for a rip or something like that and see what we're working with.
You ready to be thrown into your seat?
Oh yes. It's not bad.
No.
It's really not bad.
It's definitely not a fast car, like, by any means, but
it's quick enough to notice.
Especially like the partial throttle stuff in like second and third gear, like in the areas of the RPMs that you're gonna be driving this thing regularly, like it does a little, you know, turbo spool sounds, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like, feel a little bit of torque ramping up there, so I don't know.
It does just enough. Like, you would have fun with this, like daily driving this especially.
Yeah, it's not like a highway monster, anything even close to that. I mean, this is probably like 230-ish wheel horsepower and similar-ish torque, but
it's a clean power band. It makes good noises, like,
and it's going to be reliable. I mean, this it doesn't make enough power to break anything.
Yeah. All right, so that is the 11th Gen SI, kind of in a nutshell. I guess you could consider it phase 1 mods, you know, just bolt-ons. We do have plans to kind of take this to the next level with some other things. You guys will be seeing that sometime in the near future, but for now, super easy to do, reasonably fun, still gonna be reliable because it doesn't make a ton of power.
Yeah, and it's a Honda. They do that well.
Right, it's a Honda. I'm having trouble finding bad things to say about it. I mean, it's a Civic Si. It's done well, it's made well, accepts mods well. This is nothing new.
It's not the best at any one thing, but it does everything pretty well, especially for a budget like in 2025 for what new stuff costs. Like, it's pretty inexpensive.
That's actually a great point. I would say as far as new cars that don't suck, this is one of them. So take that for what it's worth coming from us. Hope you guys had a good time. We had fun doing this, and like I said, you might see some more SI stuff in the near future.
Yeah, more to come on this one for sure.
But for now, that's all we have. Drop a like if you had a good time. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one. We'll see you there.